Is Glamrock Freddy possessed, or is he AI programmed? Let's find out. There is a lot of speculation as to whether or not Glamrock Freddy is possessed, or if his different characteristics in the game is simply due to his advanced AI. In this video, I will be presenting all of the evidence for both sides of the debate and forming my own conclusions as to what and who Glamrock Freddy is in Security Breach. As is shown in Security Breach, and again confirmed in one of the Tales from the Pizzaplex stories, The Storyteller, the animatronics all have pre-programmed personalities. The creative department is responsible for creating stories around the animatronics and the attractions in the Mega Pizzaplex. They do this by programming in these personalities into a personality chip. So already we know the animatronics are AI programmed. Glamrock Freddy, as an example, is naturally kind, caring, and a gentle character. Great, we know the animatronics' personalities are AI generated. This explains why Freddy wants to protect Gregory, right? Well, that's partially true. In the story GGY, we learn that the animatronics programming has been altered to protect GGY from anyone who might be a problem to their plans. In this very same story, we learn that GGY is Patient 46 from the retro CDs in Security Breach. Not only do we learn GGY and 46 are the same person, we also learn that Gregory, one of Tony's friends, is GGY. Yes, Gregory is 46. However, I hear you ask, then why do the other animatronics hunt Gregory down during Security Breach if he is Patient 46? Well, this is for two reasons. One, the Mimic program, aka the Glitch Trap virus, at least the one we know and love, by the time Security Breach has infected the Pizzaplex's systems, including the animatronics and, as far as we know, at least Vanessa, Vanny, and Gregory, which the storyteller gives us more insight as to how the program entered the Pizzaplex. The reason why Greg was 46 was because he was under the virus's control and as such behaved differently than he does in the game. From this we can assume that Greg somehow broke free from the virus's grasp, which is why the animatronics hunt you down in Security Breach. Again, however, this doesn't explain why Freddy still protects Gregory. Well, I believe this is explained in the opening sequence of the game. During the Glamrock's performance, Freddy glitches out midway through the concert. This, I believe, is because the virus had commanded Freddy to capture Gregory. However, because the animatronics were altered by Gregory, Freddy had two conflicting primary commands, and as such, Freddy went into shutdown mode or rest mode. While in rest mode, Glitch Trap updated the other animatronic software to be rid of GGY's influence. Fortunately for Gregory, because Freddy was offline, he never received the update explaining why he continued to protect Gregory. Now that we've explained all of that, we can move on to other points of interest to explain why Freddy could simply be AI programmed. Our next point is when Freddy saw the Glamrock endos in the nursery and begins to have an existential crisis.
I have never been allowed in here before. This must be where I was born. Look at all the endos. They're all the same. Have I always been a Freddy? Am I Monty with a different shell? What if I am not the first Glamrock Freddy? Are there more of me at other pizzerias? Do we all feel the same? Am I special? If I am mass-produced, am I still art?
This implies that the characters are interchangeable with their endos and as such would have had their personality chips wiped and or replaced. This could have been hinted to have already happened to Freddy prior to Security Breach. I found myself for the first time is such an interesting line because it could mean so many things. One interpretation could be that Freddy found the endo that he is currently down below the Pizzaplex. This I very much doubt, but I'm throwing it out there. And at the time, he might not have even been Freddy. It's speculated that Vanny used Freddy, or at least his endo, to dig below the pizza place to recover William Afton's body, and based off Freddy's design, he doesn't look like the appropriate animatronic for the job. Could he at the time have been Monty? Maybe. Who knows? And I won't be going into any more detail about this dialogue because it isn't important for this segment. Another argument in favor of AI Freddy is when he is referring to his friends when we entered the burn trap fight. He could very well be referring to the Glamrocks. I mean, he does know when each character is coming during the fight, where they're coming from, and how to deal with them. However, none of these arguments eliminate the possibility of possession. Despite all the points presented, there are several moments in the franchise that indicate spirits have secondary control over their bodies, while the animatronics programming remains the primary form of action. Springtrap in FNAF 3 is proof of this. When the player sees Springtrap at the window or the doorway of the office, if you're quick enough, you can still lure him away with the audio lure. If Afton was in complete control over his body, then he wouldn't be fooled by that trick. How about when the animatronics in the FNAF 3 minigames were lured to the safe room by Shadow Freddy? What happened when they attempted to go into the room? An error message. They could not enter the safe room because the room didn't exist in their systems. Anyway, that's enough about AI. How about we discuss the possibility of possession? Evidence for Glamrock Freddy's possession mainly comes from his lines of dialogues and actions that aren't possible during various moments of the game. An example of this is when Freddy missed the recharge cycle and had to remain in rest mode to conserve his power. Gregory had to get to the show stage so Freddy could be repaired and recharged. However, in the process, Gregory activates the alarm in the main stage's control room, alerting the other animatronics to his location. Then, suddenly, Freddy has enough power to save you from them, calling it
second wind.
This shouldn't really be possible, as empathized by his twitching, malfunctioning body after he saved you. There were other instances of this having happened in the series before, such as in the Stitch Wraith epilogues for FNAF Frights. Even after the Stitch Wraith's battery pack has been broken, Jake was able to will his body to move. This is because of Remnant. Remnant, for those who don't know, is the substance used to describe paranormal behaviors in the animatronics within the combining of intense emotion such as agony and the object which causes a soul to be tethered to it. Adding onto this, Remnant can be used as a power source as seen in FNAF AR in the Remnant deposit area recharging the player's battery. So it's reason to assume Freddy was able to move when he was too low on power. A spirit was able to will his body to move or power it for a time. A counter argument to this I have seen is that the animatronics were programmed to investigate disturbances that triggered the alarm, and as such is why Freddy reawakened and was able to come to Gregory's rescue. However, this doesn't make any sense, because yes, while Freddy was alerted to the disturbance, he can't move if he barely has enough power to do so on his own. Freddy also has an innate desire to protect Gregory, unlike the other animatronics. However, as I pointed out before, this is because Gregory programmed Freddy to protect him, although I'll also add it's quite strange that Freddy says,
I do not know. I want to help you.
When asked why he wants to help Gregory, sounds like someone who is confused by his own actions, if you ask me. Not to mention, when we entered the Burntrap fight, Freddy refers to Burntrap as him.
Stop him.
What was that? Are you okay?
He is trying to take control of me. I do not think I can fight it for long.
If he really was just an AI, then why would he refer to him as a him if he doesn't know who Afton is? He would know if there is a spirit inside of him with a shared history. There are not many counterpoints to possession that can't be argued against with the basic knowledge of the control spirits have over their animatronic systems, so I'll move on to who could possess Freddy. First up is the candidate popularized by MatPat, Michael Afton. Freddy's desire to protect could be associated with Mike's mission to rectify the wrongs of his father and protect a scared child to make up for the death of his little brother, especially if Gregory is a parallel to the bite victim or crying child, who I'll refer to as CC going forward. In the Princess Quest ending, we free Vanessa from Glitchtrap's control, then afterwards, her, Gregory, and Freddy's head all watch the sunrise on a brand new day. The picture of the three of them seems to parallel or symbolize the Afton siblings, with Vanessa being Elizabeth holding the ice cream cone, Gregory taking a bite out of a Freddy head ice cream representing CC, and Mike being Freddy's head sitting in the middle paralleling the Old Man Consequences ending in FNAF World. Further evidence could be how we obtain security badges in Security Breach is inside a Glamrock Freddy head wearing a security hat reflecting Mike's history as a security guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This would also explain Freddy's tendency to burn down a pizzaplex in the fire escape ending. As we know, Michael has a history of burning down Fazbear establishments. However, there seems to be more evidence suggesting that Michael is still alive. Despite being cut, there is a lot of material from FNAF AR that was never released, of which still seem to have importance to the lore, some of which hint towards M. Afton being sent an email alerting them to something. I mean, who else is M. Afton supposed to be? And if it's alluding to Michael Afton, then this is proof enough to support Mike being alive. But it's cut content. why would it be canon, and how is this enough evidence to support Mike being alive? Well, I only think this is the case because of proof in Security Breach itself. There are post-it notes you can find in the various Pizzaplex offices indicating that there is a meeting with someone named Smith at 5 PM. This could be hinted towards Mike working in the Pizzaplex under the alias Fritz Smith, just like he did in FNAF 2 of Night 7. Further evidence could be the fact that there is an exact replica to the sister location room that Mike would return home to watch the daily episodes of Immortal and the Restless, complete with exotic butters. Added to this, there are grocery notes scattered around the Pizzaplex, some of which list butter. Even the code on the wall could have been written by Mike, as Xantom goes into further detail in his 2 videos explaining how and why Mike is still here, and also where I discovered the Smith meeting note. This would only be possible because he had Remnant coursing through his veins after the events of Sister Location, and Remnant isn't destroyed by fire, so it's very well possible that the Remnant is still keeping him alive, since the Remnant can also heal you. The evidence for Mike being alive seems to outweigh him being a spirit alone possessing Freddy, so obviously if Michael is still alive, then he can't be possessing Glamrock Freddy. Our next candidate is Henry Amberley. While there is not much proof that Henry is still here, and it would make sense narratively for him to be, and somewhat refreshing if he was. While this is hypothetical of course, and I don't believe this to be the case, but it is possible that with all the agony created during the Peter Sim fire, Henry's spirit could have found itself a new home in a new vessel, and if he did, then since Afton could be back, depending on where you stand after reading the Mimic story in Tale 6, then the other spirits are as well, including his daughter Charlie. If Charlie is here, then he would be too to help save his daughter like he couldn't before. This same point could be used to explain why Freddy is so protective over Gregory. Henry is given the opportunity to protect a lost child the way he couldn't protect Charlie back at Fredbear's. If Henry is Freddy, then just like Michael, it explains why Freddy resorts to burning down the Pizzaplex in the fire escape ending. Some counterpoints to this though are how could Henry have latched onto anything, yet alone an animatronic, if there weren't any around him? Well, he couldn't. Henry, unlike Michael, does not have Remnant in his body, so he could not have survived the fire that way either. This isn't even mentioning that if Henry thought that his plan to end it all in Freddy Fazbear's Peter Sim was going to be successful, as implied when he states that
I am remaining as well. I am nearby.
Then there is no way he could know if any of the other spirits survived the aftermath of the blaze, so there would be no reason to remain in this world. Spirits in FNAF also have to have a reason to stay or make the choice to stay if they are not content to do so, and since Henry was confident that his plan would work, there is no reason why he would stick around. So yeah, I believe it is very unlikely that Henry is the one possessing Glamfred. Speaking of the Emilys, Charlie is next on our list. Like Henry, if Afton survived the fire, then so did the other spirits. She would still be around and potentially have found herself in Freddy at some point, perhaps when Franny ordered Freddy to dig down into the pizza place. This would be where Charlie's soul possessed Freddy, explaining why the tear tracks on the puppet mask in the blob are gone. However, I must also point out that the tear tracks being gone could also just indicate that her soul is freed or elsewhere. When we travel down below the pizza place, Freddy mentions that he has been there before and that his
Friends are here. They are so angry, confused.
If Freddy is Charlie, then it would make sense for her to refer to the lost spirits contained within the blob as her friends. As stated before, if Henry is still here somewhere, then Charlie would also be here too. Again, if Charlie is the one to possess Freddy, then it would explain why she has such a desire to protect Gregory, because it is in her nature to protect the innocent. Counterpoints for Charlie being the one to possess Freddy. While I do think that having Charlie be the one to possess Freddy makes sense narrative-wise, other evidence seems to prove that yes, Charlie is here, but not as Freddy. As such, the double doors in the basement of the Pizzaplex being referred to as Charlie doors in the game files, alluding to her taking occupancy in a sticky note room at some point in the Pizzaplex's history, and now possibly involved with the Nightmarion staff bots near the room, as well as Nightmarion heads in the room itself. While this doesn't necessarily completely eliminate the possibility that she is possessing Freddy, it could very well imply that she is elsewhere in the Pizzaplex, since this was her room. A point brought up in FNAF's Mimic video is how the Mimic could be a parallel to Henry's Charlie bots from the Silver Eyes trilogy. While I don't personally believe this to be the case, it's still important to bring up all possible solutions, points and counterpoints to this in all theories and discussions. So the Mimic being a parallel to the Charlie bots from the novels may be possible. He also goes on to suggest that the basement is the same warehouse from the Mimic story, complete with double doors that lock behind you. I don't believe that Edwin's warehouse is Henry's in the game's continuity, nor is David a parallel with Charlie. I won't go into any more details from his video because I'll go on an unrelated rant. You can watch it for yourself. Our second to last potential identity for Freddy is a character from the books. No, not Edwin, even though it is possible. I'm talking about the teens or construction workers from the Tales epilogues. While there isn't a lot of evidence we can go off of other than assumptions, we can include them on the list. In the first epilogue for Tales from the Pizzaplex, a group of construction workers involved with the construction of the Pizzaplex are given the objective to turn the pizza place into a museum dedicated to Fazbear's history. When a shipment of Endos arrives at the location, one appears to have been burnt and its head replaced. One of the workers activates this Endo and orders it to pull apart the limbs from Endos they were clearing out and throwing them into a pile. In a dark twist of fate, the Endo starts to tear off the limbs of the workers and throwing them into the same pile. Since their bodies mixed with the dismembered Endos, their spirits could have very well lingered in the building until Vanny came along to recover Afton's body. Same with the teens who explore the abandoned restaurant in the ongoing epilogue story. Their spirits could also be trapped down there. I mean, it would explain Freddy's claim of his friends being down there. If one of the teens managed to possess Freddy, then their friends would be perhaps in a giant tangle of wires near the building. Our last name on the list is the Crying Child. Yes, the Crying Child. A possible and likely answer to who possesses Freddy would be one of the Golden Freddy spirits, and since Cassidy is otherwise occupied with Princess Quest, that only leaves CC. Not only would this be narratively interesting and satisfying, at least to me, but it also has a fair amount of evidence to back up the claim, at least in my opinion. It would explain the Blob being his friends, the I found myself for the first time line. Granted, this line can be used for most of the other candidates too, and I am not me would be a nice reversal of Golden Freddy's iconic line, "It's me." Glamrock Freddy seems to have a few visual connections to Fredbear. The first of which is the neon signs of Glam Freddy, of which show him with a purple hat and bow tie. Who else has his outfit attire? Fredbear. Another point is the strange detail of Fredbear in the Fredbear's Family Diner posters, being represented as a brown bear with a black hat and bow tie, but that's not Fredbear. That's Freddy. Why would Fredbear be represented as Freddy unless we're supposed to make the connection between Glamrock Freddy and Fredbear? Something that strengthens this connection is after you collect Chica's voice box, Freddy's bow tie changes from black to purple. There could be a number of reasons for this change. First of which could be a visual cue to indicate that you have Chica's upgrade, but I don't see why that would be necessary considering Chica already has a cue to indicate you have her upgrade. Considering the other animatronics upgrade cues are related to what they are, Freddy's hands are replaced with Monty's claws, Freddy's eyes are replaced with Roxy's yellow ones, which is why Freddy has yellow eyes later in the game, and when given Chica's voice box, Freddy's voice changes.
Consider it a second wind. Gregory, be careful. This elevator does not appear to follow any safety protocols.
Not to mention, Chica doesn't even have a bow tie, so this change does not make any sense. However, it would if it's an intentional connection to Fredbear. The Fredbear plush in FNAF 4 has a radio in him which William used to talk to CC. So what's a better way to make the connection to Fredbear apparent, changing the black bow tie to a purple one when upgrading Freddy's voice box? But Seth, I hear you asking, would most of this evidence not just be connections to Fredbear? By this logic, I could claim that Freddy is Cassidy, or if he's in the game's continuity, Andrew. Yes, you can, which is why I'm going to explain how CC is possessing Freddy and why he's still here. First off, Happiest Day hasn't happened yet. Well, kind of. If Happiest Day happened in FNAF 3, then clearly it didn't work as intended since the MCI souls are trapped in Molten Freddy. So really, Happiest Day is not yet complete, or it failed. Depends on how you look at it. We know this because in order for the children to have their happiest day is to have the pieces put together. These pieces are the souls of the MCI Missing Children Incident kids, and CC is the one required to put them together. We know this because in the fourth closet, Michael Brooks, the novel's version of Golden Freddy, is shown as the one putting the pieces of the MCI through one of his memories that connects all of the children, bringing them back together. So it would stand to reason that CC also must do the same. We see this in FNAF 3 as we play each minigame and give the spirit spirit's cake, a happy memory. We know happiest day has to be done through CC's memories because each of the FNAF 3 minigames call back to something that happened during CC's time alive in FNAF 4. Once united at the birthday table, we can recreate the birthday that CC could never have, and as such, happiest day can commence. FNAF World even infers this. Now why? While Freddy's dialogue down in the burn trap fight reflects CC's history.
I know what this is. I have been here before. She brought me here. I found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I did not want to, but I had no choice. Now I have a choice. I have changed. My friends are here. They are so angry, confused, but I can protect you.
He would have been down there before, because he has been down there before as both Freddy and CC's spirit. She is most likely referring to Vanny. However, I found myself for the first time can literally apply to any of the candidates presented, so it doesn't really help to hint towards who Freddy could be possessed by. Now I have a choice. I have changed would be referring back to FNAF 4 as he was a scared child frightened of the Fredbear animatronics. The blob would contain his friends, and the protect you line shows that Gregory reminds him of himself. A scared child in a scary place, running and hiding from the animatronics. Well, it's not exactly a perfect parallel considering Gregory destroys the animatronics, but you get what I mean. He sees himself in him, which can explain the obvious parallels between Greg and CC. He, unlike his cowardly character in FNAF 4 as Glam Fred, he is now brave enough to face the demons and protect Gregory. I am not me is an obvious reversal of it's me. While I am not me could mean many things, in this instance I believe it could mean one of two things, or both. That being he is one of the Golden Freddy spirits, but he is no longer in Golden Freddy, hence the I am not me. Another interpretation in support of CC is that the crying child is no longer himself, or who he was back in FNAF 4. Seeing how Gregory behaves and transverses around the Pizzaplex and the animatronics potentially could have inspired his spirit to no longer be the scared person he was way back when, and that combined with his desire to protect Gregory helped him find the courage to protect him from all the dangers below the Pizzaplex. Or maybe I'm looking too deep into this and it's just meant to tell us that yeah, something's up with Freddy. Bonus point, if CC's memories reside with the MCI, then it's possible some of his memories are still with them. Could explain why Freddy starts to remember who he is when we're close to the blob, because his memories would be contained within the tangled mess. However, I must also present counterpoints to this possibility. A counter argument to the Fredbear poster connection is that the Fredbear posters are telling us that Fredbear's attire was originally black as shown in the FNAF 2 minigames. However, is this not what happens to Glamrock Freddy 2, black bow tie to purple? Another possible reason for Freddy's bow tie change is a visual cue indicating that Freddy has Chica's voice box. As stated before, I don't see why that would even be necessary to begin with. You could also say that Freddy's neon sign could have a purple attire as an alternative color because you can't really have a black and neon sign, can you? His friends could be in reference to Glamrocks, as he would know they are down there as explained before. Not to mention that the character encyclopedia mentions that CC only has an appearance in FNAF 4, while this would obviously be to avoid spoilers because the book came out before Ruin and the Tales books have not finished yet as of this video. A lot of the evidence presented are Fredbear connections, and a lot of these connections could be used to further prove Gregbot, or what I prefer, make the parallel with Freddy and Gregory apparent with Fredbear and CC. Despite this, I believe there is a lot of evidence pointing towards CC being the spirit to possess Freddy in the game, and honestly, I think this is the case, and it feels satisfying to me. It explains his behavior, his friends being in the blob, which would both refer to the spirits and be a callback to the Freddy and the Gang plushies in FNAF 4, the I am not me line, and the I have changed line, and narratively, his story would come full circle if he protected a young boy, unlike what happened to him so long ago. Yes, I know there are some holes in this theory, and it hinges on Afton still being here in any capacity. If he isn't, then the whole theory falls apart, and if Afton is truly gone and the mimic has taken his place, then the one to possess Freddy is most likely Mike or Charlie. What do you guys think? After all, this video is intended to present all of the points of contention for each possibility of this theory and for you to form your own conclusions from it. Disagree with me? Let me know why you think I'm wrong in the comments. I'm open to discussions. I would also appreciate it if you could leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Thanks, and enjoy your day or evening.